we do need to reimagine our entire world. We need to reimagine our schedule, what we spend our time on, what we spend our money on, what's important, what's not important, the quantity of how much we do something, the quality of how much we do something. These are all questions that most people don't ever ask themselves. Does it make sense for you to continue with everything you were doing prior to you making this decision that you wanted to be successful in this business? What's up, Josh? It's so good to have you and good to see all of you. Some familiar faces, some new faces. It's awesome. And I just want to start off by, congratulating Josh and your whole TC Legacy community and what you've built. As Josh mentioned, I've been there for a lot of the struggles and a lot of the challenges, and seeing him continue to break through and implement and execute and get to the next step has been really cool for me as a mentor to watch and witness that. So massive congratulations to you, Michaela, and to everybody in the community that is rising and crushing it and getting to the next level. It's really, really cool to see. So super proud of you, man. And thanks for inviting me out here. As you mentioned, you guys are completing a 90-day sprint, some of you, and some of you are also going to be participating in another 60-day sprint coming up. So before we get into some stuff that I thought would be valuable to talk about and to share with you, why don't you guys pop in the chat, what was the biggest result, or what was the biggest breakthrough that you experienced personally during your 90-day sprint that you just finished, if you did that? I'm always very curious to see, did you rank up? Did you make a certain amount of money? Was it mental? Maybe it was, mindset related. Maybe you learned how to run ads and you never did that before. Maybe you started taking sales calls yourself and gaining confidence to actually not be afraid of rejection. There's so many different ways that we can identify a win. And a lot of the times what holds us back from feeling successful is that we're comparing the wins that other people had. So someone might have made a $50,000 a month or hit 6A, and maybe you're thinking like your 90 days was a failure. But I think that if you stuck with it, even on the days you didn't want to show up and do the daily stuff that you committed to, and you did it, I mean, that's massive, because we live in a society of people who don't follow through on their word, right? We have a lot of people out there in society who join stuff, who start stuff, who invest in stuff, and they don't do anything with it. They don't actually become successful with that. So if you were someone who actually committed and stuck to it, it doesn't have to be perfect for 90 days. I don't think anyone has ever literally had a perfect 90-day sprint. There's always obstacles and challenges and so on. But completing it and sticking to it and having that integrity with your word, I'm going to do this 90 days. I did the 90 days. That in and of itself is such a massive difference to how most people in the world operate. So massive kudos to you. But I want to quickly just take a look at the chat here and see what some of you guys are sharing, because I love to see that stuff. We got Christian. What's up, man? 682 by Christmas. Let's go. You just got started in the blueprint, man. Huge congratulations, man. I'm super pumped to be mentoring you inside there, and congrats, because I believe that this was in collaboration with Josh and you winning a prize and all this good stuff. So massive congrats to you, Christian. I'm pumped on that. Let's go. Kayla, traction and being consistent in socials in my process. Right. That's awesome, because you're developing a new habit, right? Building a business is a habit, just like anything else. Is like, when you think about what you could do with your time and your energy, you're like constantly being like, no, this is the priority. No, this is the priority. And eventually it becomes a habit where you kind of feel weird if you didn't move the needle forward in your business on a daily basis, right? You started running video ads. Amazing. Good job, Nicole. What was really required and kept showing up every single day? Awesome. Coastside Industries. I'm not sure who that is. Support from the team and just getting started. I only started on the business a few days before the last sprint. Yeah, well, I mean, it's the best time ever to start, because in my opinion, a 90-day sprint, it should be kind of like a mandatory way of building a business in the first place, because it's just doubling down on some of the key aspects of being successful when it comes to the process that leads you to the results that you want. Learning that consistency and confidence is key. Solid traction, better consistency. Awesome. So the main thing, like Josh asked me to come out here and talk to you guys about, is this concept around addition by subtraction. And a lot of you may not realize that your biggest obstacles and your biggest challenges in the way that you're showing up in your business is that you keep adding more stuff. You keep confusing yourself. You keep changing your mind. Like one day you're like, I'm going to do TikTok ads. And the next week you're like, no, I'm going to do some other, dancing Instagram reels or something like that. And it's just like, you keep changing it. And the way that this community works is that people are always doubling down on something they're interested in. So you're going to always have mixed signals and conflicting information. And one community is talking about organic, marketing. Another community is talking about paid ads and whatnot. And so what you actually need to do is simplify your life, okay? You need to start off by simplifying your schedule outside of the business. Like, what are you really committing yourself to right now? And does it make sense for you to continue with everything you were doing prior to you making this decision that you wanted to be successful in this business? Because we do need to reimagine our entire world. We need to reimagine our schedule, what we spend our time on, what we spend our money on, what's important, what's not important, the quantity of how much we do something, the quality of how much we do something. These are all questions that most people don't ever ask themselves. And so therefore, the majority of people think about it like this. They already have a full schedule on day one when they join this business, okay? Their income from their job is already allocated to everything from, the rent and mortgage to car payment to food to kids to whatever. Nobody has like 50% of their paycheck from their job just like going straight into savings and like, oh, one day, I'll find something useful for this money. Very, very few people have even a little savings account, yet alone a large, portion of their income just sitting there waiting to do something with it. Everybody's maxed out. Their time is maxed out. Their calendar is maxed out. Their expenses are maxed out. And then what happens? You see this business. It makes a lot of sense. You get inspired. You see the potential. And what did you do? Well, you added it into the mix. So now at 100% maxed out, what happens when you add a business? Where do you think that business is going to go? Well, for most people, it goes right up on the shelf and starts collecting dust because they literally haven't gone into the schedule and gone, well, I got to eliminate that to free up 2 hours of my week. I got to get rid of that so I get another 3 hours. I got to be more efficient here. I got to outsource that. Does that make sense? So you actually have to sit there and subtract from everything that you got going on because you got to make room for the business, okay? And if you never took that step, where does the business go? On the back burner. And so then what ends up happening is every time you log into social media or every time you come onto a team call, you just continue to go spin your wheels and get confused because you're not implementing anything. You're just trying to get like the secret magic recipe for success and trying to skip the work and skip the dedication and go right to the results that you want. And then you're like disappointed and then it's overwhelming and then you make excuses and it's like this negative cycle that goes on and on and on and on and on. And I'll tell you a secret, guys. The secret is really just about being obsessed with getting this business off the ground. Okay, that's the secret. Every single person, including Josh and Christian and anybody else on the call who's winning, they have this thing where like, this is what I have to do. Like, this is the thing. And I did the same thing in my business too for about 3 years. I was unreasonably obsessed. I was the guy that everyone was trying to tell me I'm working too much, I'm working too hard, I should have a social life. What about my friends? Don't forget where you came from. You think you're better than us. I heard it all. And I was like, no, listen, that's not what's going on here. What's going on here is that you're not used to seeing somebody dedicated, committed, and obsessed with a goal that they actually want to achieve. So to you think I'm off my medication, but actually this is just what dedication looks like and you're unfamiliar with it. So you're sitting here and pointing the finger and judging me and labeling me and whatever you got to do. And I don't give a shit about that because I know what's true for me. And once I became successful in the sense of like replacing my income from my job, getting my schedule and time back, then I was able to bring back and go, for example, going to the gym. I don't recommend this. This wasn't necessarily a good decision, but I dropped like taking care of my body. I wasn't eating properly. I was forgetting to eat all day because I was so in the zone that like I didn't even think about food. I actually didn't feel hungry. And then 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm starving. Like I didn't eat all day. Then I wouldn't make a healthy choice. Then I was getting kind of inflamed and overweight. And I was actually making some bad decisions, but it was actually due to this obsession around my business. And then once I got the financial side sorted out and the time sorted out, I went back to the drawing board and I was like, this isn't making sense. I got to take care of me. I got to get self-care going. I got to go to the gym. I got to make better choices. But like, I didn't feel like I could do all of that in a work-life balance in the early days because I knew that like that was the risk that I was really taking. The risk was not being obsessed, not starting. That's what everybody thinks, right? The risk is starting or the risk is the initial purchase or investment. No. The risk is paying the money to start and then not being obsessed with making it work so it actually pays off. That's the true risk, is people being way too lazy, procrastinating. That's the true risk. So all of you right now need to look at this. If I came, watched you for a week, okay, with like a hidden camera, which sounds like Diddy or something. Sorry, I went there. But it sounds like something you shouldn't do, right? But imagine someone just looked at your life and they were going to give you a score out of 100% on how obsessed or how dedicated you were to this business. If you didn't tell them that you were building this business, would someone be able to know by watching your actions, even if it was on mute? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So it's like, if no one was around, would it be obvious that this was your number one priority? That's what you need to look at right now. Because if you actually made it that level of obsession and commitment, and followed one plan, one strategy, one funnel, one marketing channel like Facebook ads or Instagram or TikTok, just one, with one strategy and one process long enough, you would win, you would have results, you'd hit 4A, you'd keep going, and then you can diversify. Then you can add a different marketing channel. Then you can try something else. But most of you guys are dabbling too much, trying too many things, and also not having enough space to get momentum. Here's another example. Let's say that you're going to sit down for an hour to do some work. The first 5, 10, 15 minutes sometimes might feel like a bit of a struggle, right? You're a bit distracted. There's things on your mind. You can't seem to get into the flow. You're like, it's not working. You can't log into your fucking website. You can't remember your password. Like just different things. You're like, this is like annoying. And then right when you log in, you're feeling good. You're like, log in, you watch a training, you're about to implement it. And then all of a sudden, boom, you got to go. You got to go make dinner. You got to go pick up the kids. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then your brain's like, I was like just about to figure something out. And then you didn't. So like most of the time, it's not about these little micro things. It's about 2, 3, 4 hours of like dedicated work time, right? And then you'll notice that 2 out of the 4 hours you get like massive shit done, and everything else is kind of preparing you mentally, getting you in the zone, getting you in the flow. You make a couple mistakes, then you figure it out. Does this make sense what I'm saying? Pop a 1 in the chat if you realize that often you're so close to like breaking through, but what ends up happening is like you get pulled into some other direction. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? Anybody? And isn't it frustrating? Because then when you come back, you're starting that process over again. You don't just plug back into the momentum. You plug back and you're like this, and you're like, where was I? I forgot. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was over here. See what I'm saying? All of that is wasted time. So if you can actually dedicate and go, no, this is uninterrupted 3, 4 hours, let's say Saturday morning when you're not at your job, if you work Monday through Friday, like that's the time to truly get ahead, right? Is like 3, 4 hours on Saturday, 3, 4 hours on Sunday in the morning, and then 2, 3 hours in the morning, and then a couple hours in the evening. But you need to give yourself that space to get into the flow. Even when it comes to Josh filming videos for the TC Legacy. Josh, isn't it true that when you first get into the zone to film videos, sometimes the beginning is like just so frustrating, right? Like you can't say your name right, you're making all these stupid mistakes, and you might burn an hour of just like first cuts. You're like, oh my God. And then when it connects, then you're on a roll, right? Then it flows, first take, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos. Am I right? Does that happen to you too?
No,
Imagine you only gave yourself an hour to film training videos, and then at minute 45 or minute 50, you're in the flow, and then you got a jet. And then you're like, oh, you know what I mean? But I'm sure that's not how you record. You probably give yourself a full day, clear the calendar, you know what I mean? Michaela, don't interrupt me. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, or maybe she's there with you and like helping you, I don't know. But the point is like, this is what we're gonna do until it gets done. Everything is cleared. And then you can make a month's work of progress in a day just because you weren't scattered, you know? And in my life, what I used to do is I used to try to do a little bit of everything on every day. And that was okay because I was busy. But then when I started to do a little bit later that you might want to try is having dedicated themes each day of the week. So for example, if you're working a full-time job, this is going to be slightly different than if you're already full-time in your business. But on Monday, I do the majority of my calls. And I literally do calls for like 5-6 hours straight. And then I don't have to do any more calls the rest of the week. Calls like this or a bonus call that I do every once in a while, but it's not part of my normal routine. Then Tuesdays is all my creation time. So that's when I work on my business, not in my business. So that's when I stop and I go, how can we do things better? You know, what is nobody thinking about? What is no one asking? What are some of the questions coming on that we don't have answers for? So on Tuesdays, I'm in like the mind lab of creation. So I'm like, I'm using my imagination. I'm solving problems, but I'm not getting pulled in different directions on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, I'm with my daughter because once again, this applies also to our personal lives. Like if I spend 4 or 5 hours with my daughter in a row, we have such quality bonding time rather than 30 minutes here and interrupted here. And, you know, she's thinking about something and whatever. So Wednesdays are daddy-daughter days. Thursdays, I'll do some work. I'll do the podcast and sometimes a special call. Friday, I do my self-care. So I actually go to like get a haircut, get a massage, run some errands, whatever. And I take the night off. And then Saturday, Sunday's family time. But I work in the mornings before my family wakes up. So that's my schedule now. But it's very dedicated to like different themes where I'm preparing in advance to be in that mindset of like content creation or filming or calls rather than being like call in the morning, filming in the afternoon. Then I'm like, my energy keeps getting split up. You know what I mean? So when you can understand archetypes, it really breaks through a lot of what you're struggling with most likely on a personal level. And an archetype is like an employee, for example. So an employee has been taught, trained, conditioned all their lives from elementary school all the way up to college to like basically be part of the machine, right? To like show up, punch in, punch out, 5 o'clock. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to like a government building, office, or a corporate place, but like literally, like if you go in there like 4:55, for the last 5 minutes, they just keep checking the time. And the second it hits 5 o'clock, they could be like in the middle of a conversation. They're like, all right, come back tomorrow. Like they're just fucking leaving the door. And you're like, but like, what do you mean? Like, you still need to help me. Like, I'm done. It's 5, right? It's crazy. So we've been conditioned like that. And the other thing we've been conditioned to do is programmed to do the minimum amount without getting fired. Okay. So when deep down you're conditioned to do the least, then the reason why we don't tell you or you don't think that obsession is required for success is because it seems so intense compared to this mentality of the least effort to not get fired from your paycheck. So when we go, no, listen, you got to be obsessed. You're like, well, what do you mean? I was told I could do an hour a day part-time and I will be a millionaire, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. If anyone said that to you, first of all, they're full of shit. And second of all, like you do have to be obsessed temporarily because this has a leverage component to it that a job doesn't have, which means that you can do the minimal hours like Josh is saying because you might spend an hour filming an ad and then you put that ad up live onto a platform like Facebook, for example, and that ad will now start to produce leads and whatnot, even though you may be at the job or sleeping or whatever, and you could still be doing that when you're technically part-time hours in your business. But you still have to have the mindset of like restructuring your priorities, your income, your calendar to basically increase your chances and increase your odds at getting the results that you want in your business so that you can make that transition and go full time. So I'll give you an example like Josh said. If you're planning to work on your business right now, after you get home from work, you're already setting yourself up to fail because the way that we humans are designed is that when we sleep, we get a reset, right? We get a reset emotionally, we get a reset with our energy. Everything kind of recalibrates in our sleep. That's why sleep is so important, and you shouldn't jeopardize it for too long of a period of time. So basically, the time that most people are the freshest, most energetic, most focused, most clear, least amount of stress, least amount of drama and bullshit and stuff going on up here around like your circumstances or your debts or your problems is the morning. So you wake up in the morning and then you're stressed to like get ready for work and get the kids ready and prepare breakfast and get in traffic or whatever. And you're setting yourself up to come back to work on your business. Basically the equivalent of being in an MMA ring, getting your face pounded in all day, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna build my business. It's possible, but it's just less likely to work in your favor. So I always tell people, I'm like, the discipline isn't to wake up early in the morning. The discipline is to go to bed early at night. Because if you go to bed on time, it's easy to wake up early. But what most people do is they extend the night, doing stuff that's not productive, scrolling on their phone, watching stupid bullshit TV that doesn't actually help your life. Late. You go to bed past your bedtime, then you're groggy, then you sleep in, and you're pushing everything basically to the max. So you wake up like, instead of waking up with plenty of time to have this like slow morning and read a book and do some work, it's like rushed and stressful and all this kind of thing. So you need to actually go, if my business is the key to setting myself free, right? Hey, that kind of rhymes and shit. But if the business is the key to set yourself free, then you have to do it first. Does this make sense? So ask yourself, when you're planning your week, are you putting in your work blocks or work time first before everything else? Yes or no? If it's a no, then this isn't a high enough priority. When you get your paycheck, are you actually factoring in how much money you're going to allocate to your ad spend? Maybe you need to get some tools like a upgraded computer or save up money to go to a live event or whatever. You know what I mean? Like prioritizing the growth that you need in your business. Or are you spending money on everything else, and then at the very end, you're like, I don't have any money left for ads. Once again, priorities going last, it's not going to help you. And then same thing with like your things like motocross, or for me, it was like the gym and hanging out with my friends. And I'm a huge sports guy. Back in the day when I had a job, I used to watch the local hockey team like multiple times a week, the full game, laying on the couch, had a beer, bag of chips. I'm like, fuck, I'm living the dream, bro. I'm watching my favorite team, and they're making millions of dollars, and I'm a fucking bum on the sofa thinking I'm so cool. I'm like, I just look back on that. I'm like, wow, I literally wasted 10 to 15 hours a week thinking I'm some number one fan of this hockey team. Oh my gosh, it's embarrassing to look back on that. And then I gave all of that up, put it towards my business. And then when I got back into I still love sports. Sports isn't the problem. It was how I was showing up with this fan identity. And then I'm like, when I got back into it, I'm like, hey Dave, let's go to the Super Bowl in person. 50 G's, like it was no joke. And that was like the ultimate experience that made up for every single game that I didn't watch on the sofa. And I had like the coolest fan experience of in person, blah, 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 which was really cool. So you have to make those decisions. And when we're talking about a 90-day sprint, that's just one little glimpse into who you need to become. And you get tested repeatedly every single day, as you guys already experienced if you did one. Oh yeah, 90-day sprint, no problem. Day 3, you're like, I don't know if I can do this, right? It's like, that's literally you shaping yourself into the person you need to be. And if you keep showing up anyways, even though when it's hard, that's a requirement, because you're retraining yourself to not do the minimum, but actually force yourself for a while to do the maximum, leaving it all out there for 90 days. And that's when you have a breakthrough. You know what I mean? The hardest 90 days, but the most rewarding. Yeah, because you're finally actually realizing that by you going all in, this is for your future. But you're so used to going the least amount in because you're working for someone else. So you're like, well, I'm not going to sacrifice my whole freaking life for this company or this person. But now this is actually for you and your family and your children and your future. So it's completely different. You have to swim with the momentum. So here's another example. if you're planning to do some kind of income producing activity at the end of the day when you have a long day, you're tired, you're hungry, you're maybe stressed, or you weren't treated well by your job or your boss or your customers or whatever it is that you do, then going into the evening time, you shouldn't be thinking to like fake it, right? Like, I'm going to pretend I'm energetic. I'm going to pretend that my day was all smooth. That's actually the perfect time to document the pain, the frustration, the genuine emotions you're feeling about being where you are in your life, because that's going to resonate to your audience. So if anything, instead of trying to check out, this is such a powerful key. I hope you really remember what I'm saying right now. What a lot of people have been conditioned to do is when they get home from a long, tough day, they want to check out, right? They want to escape. That's why TV, bottle of wine, dessert, takeout, junk food, these are all things that people do to like give themselves a release of escapism. But that is actually the time to connect with people, because they will relate to that feeling of like working so damn hard for so little money, having goals, but just being exhausted to work on those goals. All this kind of stuff is very real. Humans can relate to this. So even if all you did in the evening or on the car ride home from work is pop on your phone, do a Facebook Live, Instagram Live, or just film a video on your phone or something like that, just share how you're feeling, right? Be like, man, it's been a long day. Today, the clients, they were being rude to me, weren't respecting me. And I'm just so excited to have this business, because I know that it's just a matter of time before I'm not going to have to deal with this shit anymore. But right now, man, it's still my reality. I'm still stuck in the present, but I already have the path towards the future that I want. Do you see how this is valuable, where you're not trying to like pretend it's something it isn't? You're just leaning into it, because everyone else is kind of probably feeling something similar in the evenings that may be watching your stories. Because what are they doing? They're checking out, scrolling, watching other people's content, where you have an opportunity to capture that energy and be like, are you here scrolling because your life fucking sucks? Look, I get it, man. I'm in traffic right now. My life sucks right now too, but at least I got a plan. I got a vision. I got a community. I got this training. And when I get home, I'm going to put in a little bit of work. And what will happen, what you'll notice, is by having that release and that energy that you share, you'll actually put yourself into peak state. So when you do get home, you're not like all low energy and bummed out. You're actually fired up, because you just actually spoke your goals to, your audience on your social media. And now you're feeling amazing. You're like, okay, let's like follow through on what I just finished talking about. And then it'll be easier to put in an hour or two in the evenings as well, But yeah, what I noticed is that when I was in a struggling place in my business, something didn't go right, someone rejected me, or I was just having self-doubt, or any of the kind of mental gymnastics that we have to kind of deal with, where we have good days and tough days and bad days, what always helped me was getting on the phone, or getting face-to-face, or getting in the DMs, or just having some form of communication with another person. Never staying in my own little bubble, because in my own bubble, it's like, sometimes we're just so hard on ourselves that we're going to talk a bunch of shit. But if we actually focus that energy on like, who can I serve? Who can I help? Who can I talk to? And like make it about someone else, then typically that puts us back into really good energy, because we feel useful. We feel like we're contributing. We feel like we're getting out of our own way, not making it about our own shit and focusing on helping someone else. And that will snap you right out of it. So if you've ever had a bad experience or a bad day, get in front of another human being that you can serve, that you can help, that you can talk to. And it's not even about making a sale. It's just about not kind of sitting there and dwelling on the stuff that you're going through. It makes a really big difference. And then when it comes to the marketing, the biggest thing that I gave me a sense of peace that I always leaned on, and it applies to anything in business, anything to do with numbers, data, ads, cost per lead, anything that we can track. As I remember when I started in door-to-door sales way back in the day, and if you've ever done door-to-door sales, or you know anybody who's done door-to-door sales, it could be super intense. Like, you're basically volunteering to get like emotionally abused and harassed, and like basically treated like the scum of the earth by regular human beings. Like, you're like, yep, I'm in. It sounds like fun. Like, that's fucking crazy, right? Why would you do that? That's basically what door-to-door sales is, because people just, for whatever reason, show no respect to people that walk up onto the door and knock. Like, I don't know, it's weird. I'm not sure how it is where you live, but that's definitely how it was where I was from. And I remember going through all this stuff and like walking up a driveway, walking up some steps, and literally being like knock knock or ding dong, and like expecting to like not be received pleasantly. You know what I mean? You're like, here we go again. It's almost like ready to fight or something. It's like, all right, you want to scrap? Let's do this. But it's like without the violence piece, right? That's what it feels like. And I remember my manager at the time, who was teaching me like the ins and outs and the ropes of the business, what to say, my pitch, how to say hello, body language, some of these basics. And he goes, Balazs, look, what if you knew for 100% certainty that all you had to do was knock 10,000 doors, okay? And it doesn't matter what happens on those doors. It doesn't matter if they open the door. It doesn't matter if they're nice to you. It doesn't matter if they buy anything from you. Good job, guys. Did you start recording now? Anyways, it's all good. But it doesn't matter what happens. All that matters is you put in the reps to get to 10,000 doors, and all of your goals and dreams will come true. Would you take that deal? And I'm like getting my ass handed to me, mind you, right? Like, I'm not a happy guy that this is not a cool job by any means. And I wasn't making money. I didn't know how to sell. This was early days. And I just thought about it. I'm like, 10,000 doors, I'll probably do 100-ish doors a day. Like, how long would that take, And I'm like, all my goals and dreams, like, I got some pretty big goals and dreams. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And so you have to look at this business the same way. Is like, if you were to generate a certain number of leads, let's call it 10,000 just to keep the story a match. 10,000 leads, 10,000 doors, 10,000 emails on your ads, 10,000 DMs, all total, right? 10,000 total. And you just wanted to blow through this as quickly as you could to get the reps in, to get the skill set, to become more tough emotionally, not take things personally, right? Like, if you're getting haters right now on any level, whether it's from people organically DMing you on your ads, like if you're getting negative people commenting bullshit on your stuff and you still sit there and read it and kind of like consider that they might be right, or maybe you're like, never looked at it like that. Maybe, any of this kind of stuff, then you are still weak. You are still not even close to where you need to get to, where you just kind of laugh at it and go, that's hilarious. It's like my morning entertainment, right? I just had one guy on comment on some of my new ads, and the shit was hilarious. I was like bragging about the comment to my wife. I'm like, honey, check this guy out. And she's like, oh, like we're both having a laugh. But when we first got started, it wasn't like that. It was like someone would be rude or they say something and you'd sit there and dwell on it and then be like, oh man, I don't know if I could do this. You know what I mean? You got to get past that. And how you get past that is through the reps. So in your guys' case right now, to get to foray, for example, you only need 6 or 7 trifectas, depending on what package you started with, okay? So now if we factor in that, you may not be very great at closing on the phone because you're just learning. You may not be great with ads, whatever. It's all good because we all start there in the beginning. Then let's just assume that within 100 conversations, you could get to foray, okay? Is that fair to say that you would convert 6%, 6 or 7% out of 100 conversations and you'd get to foray? Is that fair? Does everyone believe that it's possible for you to get to foray with 100 conversations? Do you guys think that's possible for yourself? You think that's fair? You have 100 opportunities, 100 times to practice, and you'd be a foray. Yes or yes? So the question you need to ask yourself, if you're doing a 90-day sprint or a 60-day sprint or even just a daily method of operation all the time, the question needs to be, how long is it going to take you to have those 100 conversations? Because the 100 conversations have to happen. The timeline in which you give yourself that opportunity varies for everybody. And like, back to the door-to-door example, when I got someone who was really rude to me, told me to get a real job, get off their property, like my mom and dad are probably embarrassed of what I do for work. Like, I heard a lot of crazy stuff, I swear. And sometimes I'd be like, you just brought my mom and dad into this? Like, who are, like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to fight? Like, I was like, it was hard to just kind of walk away, right? I'm like, who do you think you are, man? Anyways, besides the point, but it's like sometimes it can like strike a nerve. And so the point that I'm saying is that people would say this, and then I'd dwell on it, and then I'd sit down on the curb, and I'd be holding my binder, and I'd be like, my hand in my head like this. My body language would be like scrouched over, and just be like, oh. And I'd be all depressed. I'm like, what am I doing, man? Why am I doing straight commission door knocking? And I'd sit there for an hour, 90 minutes. I'd go on my phone. I'd go on, watch videos. I'd try to take my mind off stuff. I start texting people, hey, what's up, man? What are you up to? In the middle of my work, right? Like, I should have been working, but I'm like just trying to be happy or whatever. And that delay, I could have knocked 5 or 10 more doors towards my 10,000 that I knew would unlock all my goals and dreams that I already agreed I would do. You see that, what I'm talking about? So if you have somebody that you got on a phone call with, or they ghosted you in the DMs, or they commented something rude, what is the time between when that perceived negative thing happened to you, and you have the next opportunity? How quickly can you get over it? Because if you can get over it really quick, you're going to have those 100 conversations super fast. Does that make sense what I'm saying? You got to go next. Because what you're really doing is sifting and sorting. You're not convincing. A lot of you are still in the mindset of convincing. Like, come on, this is the greatest business, man. Like, you got to really see it. No. Like, you're trying to convince those people who are non-believers, right? Have you ever tried to convince a non-believer of like a political position, right? Trying to turn a Democrat into a Republican? Good luck. How about someone who's a Christian trying to convert them to another religion? Good luck with that. That's what we're doing to someone who doesn't believe in what we do, and we're trying to convince them. So we're not convincing anything. We're sifting and sorting. Because all of you that are on this call, you believe in this industry. You believe in online business, you believe in network marketing, you believe in direct sales, you believe in community. You resonate with this, it makes sense to you. It's like you're wired this way, right? Your DNA, you're like, yeah, this makes sense. I could be successful with this. I love this way of business. We don't have to convince you. So all we're trying to do is sift through ads, through leads, through different pieces of content, sift to find you. And then once we find you, it's like a long lost friend. We're like, what's up, man? Where you been? Hey, we're cool, right? Like me and Josh, we met each other. We're like, where you been, bro? Like, you're my homie from Australia. Like, where you been all my life? Like, we're friends, right? Like, we didn't need to sit here like, you want to be my friend and like convince each other or some weird stuff like that. It's like, it was just natural. So this is what you got to get to, is how quickly can you have 100 conversations on whatever type of sprint you're doing. And if you did that and that was your commitment and you broke it down, reverse engineered it, that's this many conversations per day or this many conversations per week, you would be 4A by the end of this next sprint as a minimum. And if you're already at 4A, then you just do the same type of numbers and then your team does the same number. So let's say you're a 4A, you got 5 or 6 people in your business. They each need to go have 100 conversations in the next 90 days underneath you in the business. That means they all go 4A, you go 6A or 6A too. Is this making sense for everybody? And you can do this face-to-face, you can do it offline, you can do it online. But most of the time, we get so caught up on the one individual conversation or one individual DM chat or one hater on our thing that we waste all this time, and we could have already had 10, 15, 20 new opportunities in that time. Does that make sense for everybody? I want to add one more thing too. When it comes to what you said about having low self-confidence and, not having a lot of action in the business and stuff, that's completely normal, right? That's like where everybody starts. Do you think that anybody has come into this business and went from 0 to 100 on their first day? No. It's always gradual. It always starts off slow. You always have to kind of go through that initial period. But what I've noticed is there's two things that predominantly we can always remember that we're in control of, okay? First thing is your belief in the company removing yourself from the equation, okay? So let's say that you're just looking at everything from the outside, which most of you did prior to investing in this business, because that was part of your due diligence and your decision-making process. But think about it like this. So the company's 50 years old, all right? It's very, very hard to be successful in a business for 50 years and still be the leader in whatever it is that you do in any industry. So that's like already one major piece. Then you look at the products, the benefits, the testimonials, the science, you look at the community, you look at the people winning, right? You go into GPM or you go into these different communities and you see countless different types of human beings, young, old, this country, this religion, that language, this background, that background, and you just have evidence and evidence and evidence and evidence that it's possible, that it works, that you can do it. You know what I mean? So there's that. So when you actually assess this situation, you should have 100% certainty towards that, removing yourself from the equation. This isn't about you. You're just assessing it, evaluating it, and it should come across. If there's any doubt or any question marks or anything that you're not clear on, focus on getting the information and the evidence and the proof that you personally need, so that goes to 100% certainty on these different things, whether it's product, science, education, understanding, compensation plan, leadership, whatever it is you need for that to become bulletproof, like nothing and nobody can tell you otherwise. Someone says it's a scam, you laugh. Like, doesn't phase you because it's so bulletproof. You need to develop this, and everybody who's successful has gotten there on their own, okay? That's the first step. Now, remember how I said removing yourself from this. Now we're going to put yourself back into it, okay? So now it is about you. This is like, has nothing to do with you. Now this part has everything to do with you. So this part is, what can you control? Now, you can't control the hater in the DMs. You can't control whether they ghost you. You can't do that. You can't make anyone else do anything. But what you can control is yourself and the promises that you make yourself, the commitments that you make yourself. And that is where the confidence comes from. Because if you follow through on your word, if you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. and work on your business for an hour, and you go to bed at night and you wake up at 5, actually, not 5:05, not 5:15, not 5:45, at 5 or earlier, and you do what you said you're going to do, you will feel confidence that day. I promise. You say you're going to drink a gallon of Kangen water so you can be a product of the product and experience the life-changing, scientific benefits of the water, the hydration benefits of the water. And you, at the end of the day, you lift your gallon water bottle and it's empty because you drank it. You get confidence from that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you know that the company, the community, everything over here that's excluding yourself is 100% certainty, and your confidence is at 100% because you just follow through on these little micro commitments. You say, I'm going to film an ad today. You film an ad today. You're going to show up to this training call. You show up to this training call. And if you have 100% like, I say I'm going to do it, I did it. I say I'm going to do it, I did it. Then what ends up happening is when we're talking about 100 conversations, you're going to like lean into it because you're going to be racing. How quickly can I actually document 100 names that I've had 100 conversations in your CRM, in your back office, or however you're organizing your business, notepad, phone book, phone, doesn't matter. Does this make sense? So in the beginning, you're not putting all this power outside of yourself. That's what people do. They give their power away. They're like, oh, well, if this works out, then I'll be 3A this week. It's like, no. Bring the power back within yourself. Put it back within yourself. And if you say you're going to do something and follow through, then because you're a part of this thing that you believe in so much, 100% certainty, and you know that you're following through on everything that you said you're going to do, then you must win. Period. End of story. You will win in this business. Eventually, you'll crack the code. Eventually, you'll start making sales. Eventually, you'll rank up. And if you're doing 60-day sprints and 90-day sprints and that kind of stuff, then that's just speeding up the process because you're more focused, more dedicated in the short term, which is just going to build that momentum. This is making sense. So any of you right now, I promise you, if you're not feeling confident, and if we looked at your daily habits and your promises to yourself, you would be saying a lot and doing very little to follow through on what you're saying. And if your family, your spouse, your kids who live with you were interviewed, hey, does Balazs work out every day at 9 a.m.? You ask my daughter, she'll say, yep, every day his trainer shows up and he goes downstairs and he trains for an hour every day, Monday through Friday, right? So it's like, if we ask your spouse, whether you're following through on the shit you say you're going to do. That's the truth right there, because they'll be like, no, not really, you know. He said he's going to work on his business, and I didn't see him work on shit this week, etc., etc. So that's where that accountability can come through. And if you're in a relationship, I see many couples on here sitting together, this is the ultimate role that you need to play with each other. So whatever role you're in the business, like one person might be the face of the business, one person might be doing like the ads or the admin or something like that. If you really want to crush it, you guys can't enable each other. You can't be like, oh, it's okay, I know you were tired, you know, we'll try again tomorrow. No, you gotta be like, what the fuck, man? You gotta be like, you said this and you didn't do it. That's unacceptable. Do we want to have freedom or do we not want to have freedom? Do we want to travel the world or do we not want to travel the world? Because this is unacceptable. You know, step your game up, right? And do that for each other and watch how much you change, because you'll be like, I was going to be lazy right now, but I know she's going to see me, so oh man, I'm going to get back to work. You know what I'm saying? It actually really helps you when you do that. And my wife has been so great with me over the years in the same capacity. She's just been like, didn't you say, yep, right back to the office, you know what I mean? She does it in a loving way, obviously. She doesn't cuss me out, but whatever works for you guys, that helps you. Anyways, that's all I wanted to share. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys, where you got to get your power back. Don't give it away to outside circumstances, because if that's you, then you'll never actually grow, because you're never realizing that it's within your hands and within your power to make those changes. So everything that you're doing in your life, personal, business, self-care, whatever, you want to have it in your calendar. I prefer like a Google Calendar, where the time is accounted for. You don't want to have white space in your calendar. So if you look back like on this week in your calendar next week, and it's like Thursday or Friday morning for most of you or whatever, and you're like, what was I doing Friday in the morning? Chances are you're wasting time if you can't remember or recall, okay? So even if you had 30 minutes for rest or relaxation or meditation or taking a break or going for a walk, which doesn't seem like, well, why would I put that in my calendar? You should, okay? This is the first step. So document what you're doing with your time. And when you look at your calendar, you'll realize that it doesn't take that many daily disciplines, daily habits to create a successful life, because your daily habits are micro lifetimes. If you think about it, every morning we wake up and tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So when you wake up in the morning, you got to have that gratitude of like, oh, I get another day. Wow. That's pretty cool, man, because one day you might close your eyes and there is no another day. So when you think about it from that standpoint, you wake up in the morning, you get another day. That day and what you choose to do during that day is a micro lifetime. Does this make sense what I'm saying? It's like a mini life. So during that mini life, are you going to hydrate your body because health is important to you? Probably, right? Are you going to get some form of exercise? You should, even if it's going for a walk and it doesn't have to be anything hardcore. You should, and everyone has time for that. 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, listen to a podcast, go with the family. Like, you can multitask to accomplish more than one thing in the day. So if you have that mentality of doing things that you know are good for you, it's a form of accountability. So like if you had a commitment, for example, to post what you're eating before you eat it onto your social media, do you think you're going to post all the junky food that you eat, or the fast food, or the greasy food, or the things that aren't healthy for you? No, right? Because you're going to be like, I don't really want to be kind of bragging about not taking care of myself. But if you prepare a nice, healthy meal, you're like, fuck yeah, you snap a pic of that and be like, this is what I'm eating, what's up? You know? And so that's the mentality, is like you can have accountability by sharing the specific actions and habits that you have after you've done them. Now, when it comes to business related stuff, you got to think about it the same way. So let's say you're committed to reading 10 pages of a personal development book each day, which is a really good goal for everybody to have, because you'll read a couple books a month if you just stuck to that. Because an average book is 200 pages. So every 20 days you're finishing a book. And most of the time what will happen is you'll read 10 pages, you're really into it, you're learning something, you'll read a little bit more. So you actually average more than 10, but 10 is just a commitment, okay? Anyways, that's a good thing for you to have. Then what you do is you don't post about reading a book before you read the book. So you don't take a picture of the cover of the book and be like, I'm about to read this cool book. No. Because then the chances are you won't follow through. And a lot of people get caught in that trap. So you actually read the 10 pages first. Then you pick a little lesson from what you read, a little quote, a little paragraph, a sentence, and then you can snap a picture of that, post it on your stories, and then even do an actual talking video about what you learned. And there's a whole thing around learn, do, teach, right? So you learned it, you did something with what you learned, and then you teach about it to your audience, which positions you as an authority, and that's what makes people trust you and want to work with you, because you're showing that you have knowledge and expertise and follow through on something that they're not necessarily good at, and they need someone to help them. Same thing with the business. Let's say you're going to go and record ads. You can literally record your ads and then post like outtakes or little clips where you fucked up and you made a mistake. And then you can talk about that, like overcoming your fear and refilming it after you're done the work. You talk about it on your social media. So if you want to actually think about the simplest way for you to hold yourself accountable, get better results, is just to do a little picture, a little face to camera, kind of talking about what you learned or whatever at the end of each thing on your calendar. Does this make sense? So that's the simple formula. So you look at your calendar, you have 5 or 6 things that you're going to do today. Some are personal, some are business, whatever. And that gives you 5 or 6 stories as a minimum to post at the tail end of completing each of those sections. And if you just did that, all you're really doing is showing your journey, documenting your journey to success, of all the ups and downs, trials and tribulations. When you screw up or something doesn't work out, you share that as well. And then that gives you the memories to look back on in a few years. It makes it super valuable because one day you'll look back as a 682-3 and, wealthy and like living your life, and you'll be like, holy shit, look at this memory popped up from 5 years ago when I could barely even make an ad. That's hilarious. But a lot of people won't do that because they're embarrassed of where they are today, not realizing that the only forward progress you can have is growth. You can only ever get better. Like, today is the worst you're ever going to be at this business. Do you realize this? Today is the worst you're ever going to be. The least skilled, the least educated, the least confident is right now. And if you continue to put in the work, you'll only improve, you'll only get better, and you're only moving forward. So why would anybody be embarrassed or ashamed of where they are today, very well knowing that eventually they'll be further along? It's kind of like, I have kids now. I have an almost 4-year-old. I'm going to have a baby soon, my son, in a few weeks. And imagine a baby was like embarrassed when they were really young about not being able to walk, or they're like pooping in a diaper, right? They're like embarrassed that they can't go on the toilet when they're really young. Like, that doesn't make sense because they're going through that development growth. Eventually they can go on the potty. Eventually they can go to the next level of life, right? That's how we have to look at our business. So document everything, be proud of the journey. And as long as you're committed to that growth and not going to give up, then all of the stuff that you're sharing now is literally priceless when you look back on who you used to be in the future, right? And all of my favorite pieces of content and memories are stuff from years back. I'm like, wow, we've come a long way in all these different areas of our lives. So that's how I would recommend you guys all did it. Yeah, I mean, it's connected to what we've been talking about on this call, which is, I think that in the beginning, you have to make decisions around the faith around what you're building in the future. Like, you don't really have evidence or proof that your hard work, your dedication, your focus, your sacrifices are going to pay off. So it very much feels like a hypothetical, you can even go as far as saying like a pipe dream or this far-fetched fantasy, or like that's where a lot of the negativity comes from in your personal life. If you're experiencing the people that don't believe you, or there is because you're trying to normalize a way of living that isn't normal on this planet. That's the truth, right? Like, less than 1% of people live with time, location, financial freedom, with impact, with purpose, with really feeling like they found the reason why they're here on this planet, or able to experience traveling and stuff like that. And I talk about this with my wife all the time, and I'll give you this example. So unicorns, right? My daughter likes unicorns. She's 4. I think a lot of young girls like unicorns. And it's kind of like going out in the world, and people kind of go, unicorns aren't real, right? And meanwhile, you're at home and you have a pet unicorn. And it's real, and it's in your house, and you live with it, and it's your daily reality. But as soon as you leave your house and you go out in society, people are like, unicorns aren't real. Like, you're crazy. And you're like, yeah. Kind of like, should I argue? Should I like show pictures of my unicorn because it's real? It's at my house. So we kind of have these like analogies that we talk about because of our experience as parents. But that's like what freedom and this -3 legacy income, and literally like when you say this to a friend and you're excited about this business, that's what they hear you saying, right? You're describing this thing and all they hear is like, a unicorn? That's not fucking real, man. Like that's how they're interpreting it, right? Because it's just so different. And then meanwhile, you're like, no, like I'm friends with a bunch of unicorns. Like I hang out with them on these like online meetings and stuff, and they're all unicorns. Like, what do you mean they are real, right? So that's like the gap. So anyways, the point that I'm saying is that you're having to have this faith in the beginning of the business, that this belief that you have that unicorns are real, and you're going to continue to show up until the evidence presents itself and you eventually do have your very own pet unicorn that you live with in your house, is the toughest thing to do because there's no promise or guarantee that it's going to happen. But you need to act like it's a guarantee. You need to act like it's 100% going to happen in order for it to actually happen. So it's this very weird thing. So from my point of view, when I look back on those early days, I remember speaking my vision into existence to people that I would talk to about what we're going to create, where we are going, the lifestyle that I'm going to create for my family, that when I become a dad, I'm going to live in this way. But I had no proof at the time when I was saying it. So people were like, some people would believe me because they could tell like my certainty, my confidence, my tenacity that like one way or another, I'm going to make this happen. They could feel it, right? That energy was being transferred. But some people were just like, I don't know, man. I don't think so. I don't think you are. And I don't think I want to be a part of it. So my suggestion to you is, if you knew that your wildest goals and your wildest dreams are possible truly with this opportunity, then how would you be showing up in your conversations, in your content, in your ads, knowing that most people just naturally aren't going to give themselves permission to believe that this is real, to believe that it's possible, right? And there's an old saying, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And so we always appear to be the crazy ones who believe in this stuff until we prove it to be true, and then everyone else has to say something else about it, right? Now they're going to say it's a scam. Now they're going to say it's illegal. Now they're going to say that, you took advantage of people. Now they're going to say that something to justify the fact that they didn't believe it was real and possible. You did and made it happen, and now we got to kind of bring you down, or we're not going to sit there and give you your flowers and clap because that would make us feel like lesser than. So instead, we got to make you feel like you did something wrong, or who do you think you are? You're better than us. They want to almost like exile you from society because you are the 1% as opposed to the 99%. And this is the conscious choice that most people aren't willing to make, and they don't even realize it. And it's the fear of success. That's when we talk about the fear of success, that's what it is. It's like, I'm actually going to go all in on becoming 1% of the human population so that 99% doesn't understand me, and I'm kind of having to cut ties with majority of those people. I don't know. I think I want to kind of stay with the 99%. That's what is going on deep down for a lot of people. And to truly have that, like, I don't care, this is what I want, this is what I know I'm capable of, is the decision that you got to make early on in the business, and then act as if. In my early days, if there was an opportunity for me to potentially have a breakthrough in my business, meet someone, present to somebody, talk to someone on the phone, I would say yes to every opportunity. And then once I got past those initial challenges, I started to reframe my boundaries, and then I started to say no to more things because I just couldn't be everything to all people at all times. And it started to kind of like not be sustainable in a way. But in the early days, yes, no problem. I'm there, all there. And then people were like, there were times where I would actually be like, have 2 meetings with 2 separate people on my team, like 2 leads. And I'd actually say to them, I'd be like, do you mind if I do a meeting with someone else at the same time as you? Completely irrelevant. It'd be like John over here and Mike over here. They each had a prospect, but I didn't have enough time. So I'd be like, hey, John and Mike, you guys cool if we do the meeting together? And then we'd turn it into a little group thing. And they'd be like, that's fine. And that's how I leveraged my time. And they both signed up and like, things like that. Like I was always getting creative in a way for me to grow my business no matter what. So that's my advice to you, man, is just go all in, knowing that one day you'll have a pet unicorn. I don't know if that resonates with you or not, but I don't know if you want a pet unicorn, but they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool to have. Yeah. Yeah, man. Go make it happen. It's the weirdest thing is like believing in some urban myth or urban legend and then actually following through and being like, no. Like the treasure is real. Like that treasure actually exists at the bottom of the ocean. It's not like just in the movies. That's what it feels like getting to 682-3 and above. You're like, this is real. But until then, it could feel like, I don't know, and all this kind of stuff. But I just believed it from the beginning. I'm like, no. If there's other people that have done it, like, I'll give you another example. I went to a convention when I was 4A in Anaheim, and I was sitting in the audience just like everybody else at convention. And if you guys went to Okinawa for the 50th recently, you'll probably know what I mean when I say this. But there was like 1,500 people in the room. I'm just a 4A. I'm sitting there. And one by one, these different unique people, older people, 50, 60 years old, like Filipino, Asian, American, like just all these different countries from around the world are like walking across the stage getting like 682-3 checks and shit. And like when I saw that transpire in front of me, I'm like, that's all I needed. Like literally, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that's all I needed. What else do I need, man? Like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know nothing about them. I'm not judging them. I'm not trying to understand. All I know is that they all walked up on that motherfucker, and I'm going to walk up on that shit. Like, it was it. It was over, and I just went back to work. Like, I didn't need all the training. I was just like, all right, it's real. Those people are doing it. I just saw 15 unicorns. Like, I'll just go get my own now. So that's kind of like the level that you got to get to is stop doubting it, stop questioning it, stop believing all this other stuff. And you're like, it's real. It's happening. I've been a -3 for over 8 years. I've received the monthly and quarterly -3 bonus every single month, every single quarter without fail. I don't know how much more real it can get than that. And obviously, I can clarify what I meant by this is, so let's say that you are doing 1 to 2 hours a day like you said you did. So clearly it's possible because that's what you've averaged and you know that is real for you. I would bet money on the fact that the rest of the time when you were doing other things, when you were at your job or working out or driving the car, you were still thinking about your business. So when we're talking about the 4 hours a day, I'm including that, like Josh said earlier, is all in mentality where you're not sitting there like obsessing about conspiracy theories and listening to some random podcast talking about some bullshit that is relevant and occupying your mental capacity on irrelevant stuff for hours of your time, whether you're in traffic, whether you're getting ready for work, or whether you're at work. Does that make sense? So that when you actually do have undisturbed business time, where you're in front of your computer or filming ads or in the DMs or on a sales call or whatever, you already have a plan to execute to make the most of that time. If the only time you're turning the business mindset on is that 1 hour, then like you're gonna sit there and be like, should I do this? Let me go in this Facebook group and let me scroll around and and then all of a sudden that hour is over. And then you didn't actually move the business forward. You sort of procrastinated with distractions and busy work. And then the hour or two is done and you got something else to do, and then you're back to like ignoring the business and thinking about other stuff. So that's kind of what I meant, is that if you, for example, a really great success habit that people should develop is planning their day before they go to bed, their next day. So making a little list and being like, okay, if the only thing I did tomorrow to move my business forward was film one ad and post it live on Meta, and that was the only thing that I got done tomorrow, that day is considered a win in that 1 or 2 hours that you're talking about, right? But if you don't have the plan and you don't know what the next most important task or step is to get done, then the next day will come and it will be a day of waste because you end up just scrolling around and just kind of aimlessly floating around the ether, and then you're right back where you were. You didn't get new leads, you didn't get progress, etc. So that's kind of the real answer of up here, it's got to be on, most of the time. I would say probably 90% of the time, there's got to be this like problem solving and thinking and contemplating and self-awareness, right? Like actually starting to be more objective with yourself and be like, where am I lying to myself? Where am I full of shit? Like, where am I saying this but not following through? It's like actually having that mirror reflection of who you are, because you know that is the key to unlocking the next level to get to where you want to go. So that's that piece. Now, when it comes to the sales call itself and talking about the 1 to 2 hours a day, I think it's the language we choose to use that matters the most around the quality of people that choose to partner with us and that we choose to partner with, right? Because posture and positioning in this business is everything. People have a really wrong idea that we're trying to close a sale, right? High ticket closer, right? We hear this all the time. And while yes, it is a skill to close a deal and to get the signature and to make the money, we're not technically closing a traditional sale in this business, right? We are having a common agreement, a transaction that opens a partnership. It opens a relationship. And so therefore, if all I'm concerned with is trying to schmooze somebody like a used car salesman, oh yeah, it's easy and it's 1 to 2 hours a day and, blah, 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 promises, claims, guarantees, like this kind of sugarcoating shit, you'll make the money, you'll close the sale, but you won't have any duplication. You won't have any real success in your business, because when the reality hits those people in a week or two when they get started and they realize it is harder than they thought, etc., you made that quick commission. You have a bad reputation. You make network marketing look bad. You make Enagic look bad. And these people are disgruntled victims that point the finger and blame it on everybody else. Whereas when you're on that call and you're like, listen, I get X number of applications every month to work with me. I only accept 5 to 10 people directly to mentor. And these are my requirements. So tell me why I should work with you. Now, do you think this person's going to say, oh, hey, Christian, I'm lazy and I'm going to procrastinate and I want to do the least amount of work to get the least amount of results. Please choose me. You think they're going to say that? You'll be like, next, right? Next person, like, no, thank you. Who's going to hire somebody like that in a job, or who's going to partner with somebody who has that sort of energy? Now, instead, they're going to say, look, man, I'm busy. I got a job. I got some kids. I got 1 or 2 hours a day. But listen, I'm going to be obsessed. I'm going to be learning in the car. I'm going to be waking up early. I'm going to be putting every waking minute into my business, any opportunity that I have to move forward. Pick me, man. I'm going to be the real deal. Does it matter now about the 1 to 2 hours? No, what matters is the energy of showing up and giving it everything they have and maximizing their potential and actually being excited about that. Then they qualify to work with you because of the positioning. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So we don't want to overpromise and then underdeliver when it comes to the sale. What we want to do is we want to make it sound like this is a real difficult journey to achieve freedom. It is, or else everybody would be free, right? Like there's a reason 1% or less of the population lives this way. And do you think the other 99% don't want to be? If you ever ask somebody on the street, hey, would you like to be financially free, location free, have all your, travel the world, whatever, do you think anyone's gonna be like, no, fuck that, that sounds stupid? And they're gonna be like, of course. Well, why aren't you? Oh, well, the government, like whatever. And you're like, yeah, exactly. It's the excuses and stuff. So that's what I mean, is that we want to actually make somebody think about what's the maximum I'm able to put towards this, and fit it in wherever they can. Addition by subtraction, what can I eliminate? How can I have like more quality time with the people you love, not so much quantity. Like if you spent an hour with your kids of undisturbed, dedicated time for like a shorter period rather than 3 or 4 hours of playing and not really like fully engaging with them, it means more to the kids than it means more to you. And then you can still put more time towards the business. And then once you achieve your goal, like a 4A or a 6A or whatever, then maybe you take your kids on a holiday and spend a whole week, dedicated to their focus and attention. And kids appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like even right now, I'm building a platform in this community and I'm doing all this stuff. I'm working more than I need to be, but my family's on board because they know what the trade-off is going to be. And then when I am with them, I'm like fully present with them. And so it's daddy time, or, it's hubby time or whatever. So that's what I think is really important around that. And the consistency. I think that one of the other last pieces is that you should put in those 1 to 2 hours at least a day, every day, 7 days a week, indefinitely until you achieve the level you want to get to. Not this like 1 to 2 hours, take 3 days off, then be checked out, and then 1 to 2 hours. Like that is also going to hurt you, is when you have that obsession is like, no, I got to work on this daily and at least bare minimum do one thing that moves the needle forward in my business as a task that I complete that is income producing or income generating daily minimum every single day, indefinitely, no days off. And that's something everybody can commit to if they really want this truly. You have to give almost like a list of tasks, like these 10 things, pick one from this list per day. And that means that you're making positive forward progress in your business towards the goals that you want to have. And that also simplifies things so much too, right? Because even sometimes when we say like film one ad, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that. You got to get ideas, you got to get hooks, you got to do multiple takes, you got to, you know what I mean? Like it's not as simple as just perfect one-off, off the cuff, like just thought of something. There's some planning, some preparing, some research that you might do, whatever. And it's all setting you up to complete this one task of filming an ad, which seems simpler than it actually is. But that might require 1 or 2 hours just to do that one video or that one post or whatever. And then the thing too that I'll add to this last thought for everybody who's here. We're not talking about the newest person who's not here yet, but you, specifically you who's listening right now, is being very self-aware and mindful of the stuff that you can get done today that you procrastinate on until tomorrow. Never leave shit you can get done today until tomorrow. So if it's like replying to a DM or getting on a call or posting that post or getting that thought out from your head that you had all day when you're at your job, get it out, flush it out. Because if you don't, it occupies that mental energy. You know what I mean? Like maybe you have something in your garage right now that you should have donated or sold on Marketplace or got rid of, and you walk past it every time you take out the trash. You walk past it and it's in the garage and you haven't got rid of it. And every time you think about, I was supposed to get rid of that. That's literally wasted mental energy. So be more mindful, like, I got to do this, get it done. Got to do this, get it done, because that's also going to speed up momentum in your life and in your business as well. The thing that I'll just add to the very end here is when you do your hierarchy of values, I don't know if you guys have ever done this exercise, but I highly recommend it. There's a book by John DeMartini that you should read called Values Factor. If you haven't heard of that, grab that book. It actually talks about how men and women and fathers and mothers and different types of people, they have different values. And the fastest way to find out what your values are is where you're spending your time, where you're spending your money, what you're, prioritizing with your energy. And so it's very obvious. Like if we just kind of had a look at everybody on this call, I'd be able to be like, these are your values, right? If you're always put together with makeup and your hair done and your hair did, it's like how you look is one of your values, and you keep prioritizing your time, your money, your attention to do that. So it's not a bad thing. It's just very evident and clear. But when you think about Enagic, when you think about this business, when you think about what it is capable of providing for you, what you need to be able to do is attach the success of this business for you back to your values to make them in alignment, right? So if your kids are your highest value, And then instead of making your kids the excuse because you're like, I got to take care of the kids, I don't have time for the business, which is an excuse put on the children, you got to turn the children into your why, because when you're healthier by consuming Kangen water, taking care of your body, you're going to have a longer life to be there for your children. When you actually make more income and have more time freedom, it gives you more quality time with your children. So you actually have to connect your highest value with the success that you want in the business. And once those two things are connected, then it's game on and you're no longer in conflict. Like, no, I got to be with the kids. I can't do the business. Like, no, they're one and the same. And that's why you see people like Christy Ord and some of you on this call right now that have your kids with you on your lap or they're sitting beside you, is you're building this together with them and for them. So like, Christy's an example of like literally breastfeeding on master classes. Rather than saying, I can't do the master class because I got to feed my baby, she's like, no, we're doing the master class and I'm feeding my baby whether you like it or not right here, right now. And then people respect it because they're like, your children are your why, not your excuse. And that could be the same thing for not just kids, but other areas as well. So have a look and make sure that your values are in alignment with you achieving the highest levels in your Enagic business. And once those things are there, there'll be nothing in your way and you'll just be flying towards the goals that you have.